Today is a gift. Hey, I was going to do something else for this podcast, but this could not wait. See, each year, Merriam-Webster Dictionary puts out the word of the year. This year, America's oldest dictionary announced that authentic was the word of the year for 2023. With the rise of artificial intelligence, conspiracy theories, and the line between what is real and what is fake increasingly being blurred, authentic became a highly searched word. It was actually among the highest looked up words in the dictionary's 500,000 entries. And I was thinking about this, how in our time, in our world today, there is a hunger for what is real, what is authentic. And that's because we live in an age of images, carefully cultivated images, which will promote, advance, market our agenda for maximum rewards. A world that is filled with posters and ads and slogans through which people and companies project what they want others to know about themselves. We live and walk in the highway of humanity looking at billboards instead of people. There's a guy by the name of Daniel Boorstin. He's actually written about this in his book called The Image. It was written many years ago, but still so relevant. He says this in his book. He says, "We risk being the first people in history to have been able to make their illusions so vivid, so persuasive, so realistic that they can live in them." We are in a world of avatars that represent the images of people and products, not the real thing. Like superheroes, we can, each of us, create virtual alter egos. Then we feed them lines we think are meant for us to know and to live and to follow. We're increasingly inhabiting a communal landscape in which we recognize and associate and form relationships with each other on the basis of our projected images. And there's a problem with all this, and I think the problem is that you can never truly be human. You cannot be vulnerable. You cannot be weak. You cannot have a true, authentic, meaningful relationship with an image. Because images are about selling and marketing and projecting, even manipulating, not about authenticity and reality and relationships. And I was thinking about the stories in the New Testament. The Pharisees had an image. I mean, they were serious about God. They spent significant time studying the scriptures. They were careful about following the laws. But it was primarily a brand, an image, a storefront to what they wanted people to think. So Jesus had some things to say about this in Matthew chapter 23. He says, they talk a good line, but they don't live it. In other words, their words and actions don't match up. And then Jesus continues, they don't take it into their hearts and live it out in their behavior. It's all spit and polished veneer. It's just an image, not the real, authentic thing. And then Jesus also said, this is from Luke 12, you can't whisper one thing in private and preach the opposite in public. The day is coming when those whispers will be repeated all over town. Now, as I was reading about being authentic, the word of the year for 2023 on Merriam-Webster's website, I kind of got curious. I'm like, I wondered what the word of the year was for 2022. And it's interesting to me that the word of the year for 2022 was gaslighting. And I read a lot this year, a number of books, and one of the books that I read was actually on gaslighting. It was by an author named Stephanie Moulton Starkis, great book. And she writes how gaslighting is the psychological manipulation of a person over a period of time that causes them to question their own reality. It's a destructive tool used by someone who's adept at manipulation and spin and triangulation and image maintenance. And we have all read heartbreaking stories of how gaslighting, manipulation, and spin can wreak havoc in people, especially when it comes from people you love and trust. David writes about this in Psalm 55, how deeply a close friend, some translations say his best friend, hurt him. Many of us have experienced the hurt and pain of this firsthand, which is why Paul writes to the Corinthians, he says, we refuse to wear masks and play games. We don't maneuver, we don't manipulate behind the scenes, and we don't twist God's word to suit ourselves. Rather, we keep everything we do and say out in the open, the whole truth on display, so that want, those who want to, can see and judge for themselves in the presence of God. This is 2 Corinthians 4:2. And that's because when spin and manipulation get into a relationship, um, into a marriage, a family, a team, and I would even say in a nation, it can be unbelievably destructive. So today, be brave, be authentic. Here's a couple of my favorite verses from Romans 12 to chew on. So here's what I want you to do, God helping you. Take your everyday, ordinary life, your sleeping, eating, going to work, and walking around life. Place it before God as an offering. Embracing what God does for you is the best thing you can do for Him. Don't become so well adjusted to your culture that you fit into it without even thinking. Instead, fix your attention on God. You'll be changed from the inside out. Readily recognize what He wants from you and quickly respond to it. Unlike the culture around you, always dragging you down to its level of immaturity, God brings the best out of you, develops well formed maturity in you. Today is a gift. It may not feel that way some days, but it is. And the good news is that God is with us. He is with us today, which means today you're not alone. And He desires to bring out the best in you, not the fake in you. Trust Him, follow Him, talk to Him, and may you experience deep, authentic friendship with God and others. May your life and your work and your words be filled with authenticity. Until next time, God bless you, friends. Love you.